The India News Hour. I'm Mark Lynn, and now returning to our top story on Prime Minister Narendra Modi's ongoing visit to Bhutan. We are joined by Ambassador Sanjay Bhattacharya, who is a former secretary in the Ministry of External Affairs. Thank you very much, Ambassador Bhattacharya. So let's start by looking at this order of Druk Gyalpo being conferred on Prime Minister Modi. What message does this send out regarding India's neighborhood-first relationship?
Well, of course, in our neighborhood first policy, Bhutan occupies a very special and unique position. It's a rather interesting state with whom we've had civilizational contacts. The honor that they have bestowed upon Prime Minister, which is the first time they have done it for any foreign dignitary, is really, again, a reflection of these very deep ties that we have between India and Bhutan, between the two countries and the two people. And of course, it is also a recognition of the very high stature and respect that Prime Minister commands in Bhutan.
Well, also, Prime Minister announced for the 13th plan, the 5-year plan, 10,000 crore rupees, that's about $1.25 billion for our international viewers. What kind of a boost will this give to the Bhutanese economy?
Well, the Bhutanese economy has been doing extremely well, and they are poised towards becoming a high-income economy by the middle of the next decade. And a lot of this has got to do with the cooperation that Bhutan and India share. A lot of the development projects that we have entered into with Bhutan provide us with our energy security from the hydroelectric sources that are available in Bhutan, and this gives revenue in return. Bhutan has followed a very interesting development path in which it is focused on also gross national happiness. And I think what we've tried to do over this process is to try and build into their priorities so that Bhutan is able to achieve its development and happiness goals. And what we've announced now and the number of agreements and MOUs that have been signed are all geared towards Bhutan's priorities in achieving its own goals.
Well, you did mention, Ambassador Bhattacharya, that Bhutan aspires to be a high-income country by 2034. But being a small country as it is, how is it achieving this goal? What's it actually doing right that perhaps, can be something that other smaller places can also follow?
Well, you are right in saying that Bhutan is a relatively small country with a small population, but it has huge diversity even within that community. And you go from the plains in the south to very high mountains in the north, just within a span of about 150 kilometers. What you also see is a very rich diversity in terms of its economy and its social structure. But inherently, a very deeply Buddhist society ingrained in the values of Buddhism, which, as you know, went from India to Tibet and to Bhutan, went through Atish Dipankar. So a country that has been built on very high system of values and a very coherent society that it has been able to bring together. Its ability to bring about the carbon neutral process and to be carbon neutral even today is something that is an outstanding achievement. And I think what this has brought about is a practice in which even tourism, which it has allowed in some measure, is seen not only from the perspective of gaining revenue, but also contributing to social good and to people in general.
We did notice, Ambassador Bhattacharya, that there was thunderous applause during the Prime Minister's speech, even though he was speaking in Hindi. Does this imply, that, Hindi is widely spoken and understood? And also, what does it tell us about the closeness of the relationship between the two countries?
Well, Hindi is very widely understood in Bhutan across the country. Apart from the schools and colleges that Bhutan runs, which has an outstanding education system, many Bhutanese actually travel to India for education purposes, and then they go back and work in their country. Some, of course, go off to other countries as well. But Hindi is very well known in across Bhutan. But I think the deeper aspect that is there is that the people of Bhutan actually have a very deep affinity with the people of India. And the kind of exchanges that we have had over the decades have fostered this very harmonious relationship between the two people, which has always sought and brought about betterment of each other. And so it's also a celebration of their very special attachment with India.
Ambassador Bhattacharya, also, how closely linked is India's northeast with Bhutan culturally? How can Bhutan's development also help the development of the northeastern part of India?
Well, as you know, there are a number of regional or sub-regional initiatives which Bhutan is a part of, along with India, Bangladesh, and Nepal. This is the BBIN network. And so that is one which is of transboundary collaboration in connectivity, in terms of trade and investment, in energy cooperation, and also in people-to-people exchanges. So that's one level of sub-regional collaboration that is happening. The second is with India herself. And Bhutan, as I mentioned, has been very deeply engaged with India at several levels. And the attachment with Bengal and the Northeast in particular runs very, very deep. It is not just in terms of education and business and trade, but in terms of the cultural connections that the two sides enjoy. And this is where I think some of the Bhutanese examples of how they have managed their growth in trying to be carbon neutral, in trying to be socially responsible, in trying to achieve the SDGs in a much more coherent manner, is something that some of our sub-regional regions can actually, within the country in the Northeast, can actually emulate.
A final question, Ambassador Bhattacharya, is space cooperation. It's an area of future cooperation. And there already is the South Asia Satellite Ground Station, which is in Thimphu. What more can be expected? I mean, after all, India is, an emerging power as far as an emerging space power.
Bhutan has warmly embraced technology, digital technology, and uses space means for its communication networks and also for the spread of its education network, its health facilities. And so the space assets, particularly the kind of space assets that India has developed, which is all for peaceful and development purposes, are extremely relevant for Bhutan. So I was very happy to see that this MOU has been signed now, because this is going to set the stage for closer collaboration in the days to come, where we can support the Bhutanese aspirations in communications, education, health, and also in the overall aspects of space technology.
We leave it there. Thank you very much, Ambassador Sanjay Bhattacharya, former Secretary, Ministry of External Affairs, for putting into context Prime Minister's visit to Bhutan. Our next story, the US lawmakers are set to vote on a